Hello, beautiful souls. I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Today, I want to talk through a topic that I have been witnessing come up not only in my own life, but also in a lot of other people, friends, peers' lives that I've been in communication with lately. And I'm sure that if I and so many others are experiencing this, maybe you are too. And the hope is that by sharing what I've learned and what I've realized and acknowledged, that can also move forward and assist you in where you're at and what you're moving through. So without further ado, let's get started. The topic of this video is really going to be centered around how we can love and appreciate every single day of our lives, no matter if we believe that we are currently successful or if we are under the impression that we're moving forward or being productive or not. And that's the thing, or not is the part that sometimes holds us back and stifles us, but we are truly choosing what energy we are approaching our lives with every single day, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. And normally, we are kind of moving through this mundane to-do list, this mundane, day in and day out. And then in a typical life or a typical person's schedule or lifestyle, when they go on vacation, is when they feel like they're having a lot of fun, they're having a lot of excitement, they're enjoying their days. And when we go back to that normal day or to that, non-vacation schedule, we start to put conditions on what we deem a good day. Whereas when we're at the beach or when we're on vacation in the mountains or wherever you may be, every day is a good day because we're on vacation. But aside from that, whether we're on vacation or not, why do we deem our normal days less good? Or why do we have more criteria for how we judge those normal days as good or bad than we would if we're on vacation? Because when we're on vacation, whether we, go out to the ocean, lay in the sun, read a book, go out to dinner, whatever it may be, it's all a good day. And we have a lot less criteria that we're basing that on. So I want to dive into, and this is just one example, why we put so much, or why we have so much criteria for what we judge a good day on when we're just living our normal everyday lives. And I think it really comes down to this idea of success. A lot of us, have been conditioned. I think actually all of us living here on planet Earth, or at least in the US or in this Western culture, have been conditioned to view ourselves as successful and deem that as a good thing when we're making a lot of money. So when we go through our day-to-day lives, we're asking ourselves, did I get enough done today? Did I meet all of my goals or tasks or requirements? And if the answer is yes, then we're one step closer to deeming that a good day. That's unconsciously the criteria or requirements that we're using in our minds to decide if we've had a good day. So that's just one loaded area where we're putting a lot of emphasis on all of these things that need to happen in order for us to have a good day. And then we judge our days based on that productivity or success in the workplace or in finances. But we're forgetting to come back and decide whether we had a good day by being consciously aware of our internal system, our bodies. And in an essence, we're stuck here in our minds. We're stuck here in the physical, doing a bunch of things, checking a bunch of things off of our list and meeting a bunch of requirements, but we're forgetting to use our consciousness as a gauge for a good day. How about, did I live in balance today? Did I fill up my own cup today? Did I feel centered and grounded today? Did I feel grateful today? Did I feel connected to source today? How are my mind, body, and spirit doing today? Those are really all we need to be tuning into to decide if we are having a positive day. And even that I use very loosely because positive and negative are very subjective. And even if we've had a quote unquote negative day, let's say our body isn't feeling good, or we didn't feel very centered, or we didn't feel very grounded, that doesn't make it wrong or bad or less than. It just truly is. But that, I feel, is more of a true gauge of how we're showing up, how we are living today, than any of those other things, such as how many tasks I got done, or how many goals I checked off my list, or how much money I made, or how much work I got done. Those things are all very trivial, and they're very head-centered. They really don't exist. The amount of tasks that you got done isn't influencing you. It isn't a part of you. It's an outside idea. It's an outside area that you're focusing on. But we need to turn that focus back inwards to ourselves before we can ever start living a life where we're actually enjoying each day. And really, no matter what, no matter where you're at, what you're doing, loving your life really comes first by acknowledging the cycles and the flow and the bigger picture of what we're moving through. When we can realize that, oh my gosh, I'm living in a multidimensional universe, I'm moving through all of these cycles every single day, we begin to have more perspective, more awareness of what we truly are moving through versus this external construct that we have created as human beings that is really a false sense of real. So I know that sounds kind of loaded, but let me break it down a little bit more for you. In an excerpt from The Power of Now, I want to read to you what it had to say. It says, your physical energy is subject to cycles. It cannot always be at peak. There will be times of low as well as high energy. There will be periods when you are highly active and creative, but there may also be times when everything seems stagnant, when it seems that you are not getting anywhere, not achieving anything. A cycle can last for anything from a few hours to a few years. So let's just sit with that for a second. What this excerpt is really telling us is that we are moving through cycles all the time. We cannot sustain a high vibe, a high energetic state at 100% capacity all the time. So really the key is we cannot judge ourselves based on the cycle and allow ourselves to define who we are as good or bad based on that cycle that we are in. So let's dive in even deeper. What are these cycles? What does it mean when we say we're moving through cycles where we can't be so high all the time and we're going to have low moments? We're going to have phases of our life where we're not achieving anything. So I'm going to give you one of my personal examples to help you relate this to your own life. There have been actually many phases of my life, many parts of this grand cycle where I have been almost stagnant, where I viewed myself as stagnant, I should say. I actually wasn't stagnant, but in the moment I felt like I was just standing still. So after being certified as a spiritual life coach, I was building up that practice, and anyone who has built their own business is well aware that like in the beginning phases, it's slow. It doesn't just appear overnight. You're putting in a lot of behind the scene effort that doesn't necessarily show up as this huge outcome right away. So during that phase, I felt like I was in a very slow time period. And then actually, even after that, when I was helping out a family, like my family's business, I felt like, what are you doing, Nicole? Like, this isn't part of the plan. This isn't what I had hoped of or what I had anticipated. This isn't really where I want to be long term. Why are we just like taking this on and allowing ourselves to get stuck here? But that was one of those phases of my cycle where I needed more space. I needed more rest. I needed more slow energy. And I've actually talked about in a past video the doshas, or the energy types that the Ayurvedic science talks about. And you can actually go back and reference that video. I think it's in the one that's titled There's More Than One Way to Grow. But I'll remind you that these different energies, Vata, which is very creative, very airy energy, then moves into Pitta, which is very fiery, getting it done, productive energy, then moves into Kapha, which is very slow, nurturing, grounding energy. And this is the same thing as the cycles. When we are in a slow cycle where it looks like we are not achieving anything, we actually very much need that cycle to nurture our bodies, to prepare us for what's to come. And when I was in one of those cycles where I was just kind of like, moving through a lot of that prepping stuff, and I was like doing work behind the scenes, but I wasn't seeing myself move forward, I actually made a video on my on my Instagram, and if I can, I'll try to link it below. But this was like a couple years ago now, I think, and I related how, I don't know if you ever played with as a child these little toy cars where you pulled them back a few times and then they like shot forward. I related that phase of my life to that sensation where I'm just being pulled back, pulled back, pulled back. And that felt like being distracted by things that I didn't think were part of my plan, or I didn't think were important to where I wanted to go. That also looked like, having to set up a lot of these behind the scenes structures and systems and prepare my foundation, but it wasn't outwardly appearing like anything. And it looked like taking time to just be with myself, to have slow, nurturing moments where I was being prepared, pulled back, in the analogy of that little car, to shoot forward when the time was right. And that's the thing. You will inevitably shoot forward into another high energy state, another high energy phase of your cycle, but it's not always like going to happen when you think that it should. So sometimes we think that we're not progressing in the way that we should be, but actually it's all unfolding exactly as it's meant to be. We just aren't aware of it because we can't see on a physical piece of paper, oh, this is the phase of the cycle that I'm in. And right now I have about 2 weeks left until I move into the high intensity energy phase again. No, that's not how it works. We don't have a like step-by-step roadmap of when we're going to move through these cycles. So it really comes down to being able to feel that within ourselves and not trying to keep ourselves or like hold ourselves in one phase forever. We can't hold ourselves in a high energy state longer than we're meant to be there. We just can't. And if you try to very desperately, you will probably hit burnout, which is what happens when we stay in the Pitta energy, which is the fiery, get it done, productive energy. When we stay there too long, when we overstay our welcome, if you will, it burns us up. It's the fire energy. When you stay there so long, longer than your body is cueing you to, you will burn out. And then you will hit this like further rock bottom state where you have to take a lot more energy, time in nurturing yourself back to a healthy state so that you can proceed forward. Whereas if you allow yourself to flow with the phases of the cycle that you are already in, it will become so much easier and so much more fun to witness it and experience it in that way. And that's truly where I'm at right now, is that I'm much more aware of it now. And that doesn't mean that I don't have those moments where I feel discouraged, because I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is a topic that I'm bringing to you because I have experienced it myself. But in this space where we're dedicated to living an authentically empowered life, we empower ourselves through our awareness, through our consciousness, through this way of living in alignment with who we are as souls, as spiritual beings, having a human experience versus human beings trying to have a spiritual experience. It doesn't work that way. We have to come back to our essence, come back to who we are at our core in order to appreciate this human experience, this life that we are living. So it's truly our minds that are judging and categorizing and belittling these different phases of our life, these different parts of the cycle that we are moving through, because our soul does not look at one experience as more worthy than the next. We are learning, growing, and improving ourselves on many levels, and the soul sees growth. As simple as that. Whether we are growing physically, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, it is all worthwhile to our soul. And sometimes the moments that we are the slowest and that we are the most present end up being the most pivotal moments, because they aren't shifting us around wondering, when will this happen? Did I get enough done? Am I productive enough? When we're so present, when we're so slow, when we're so in our bodies, we are in a deeper level of awareness than that hustle can ever move us into. So you may think, by hustling, by getting it all done now, by getting ahead of the curve, I'm propelling myself forward, I'm putting myself ahead. But that's actually another lesson that I had to learn the hard way, I would say. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a very type A personality in many ways, and it's something that I'm working on to bring myself into better balance. And this has just been such a powerful area of my life that I've had to sit with and become aware of. But when we are trying to get ahead by just continuing to do more, and we're not coming back into stillness, we're not coming back into balance, we're not coming back into the gauge that is our awareness, that is our bodies, and we're living fully in our heads, we actually put ourselves further behind. So instead of getting further ahead, we're putting ourselves further behind. And I don't want you to be hard on yourself because of this. I have been there, I've done that, and it's okay. But become aware of it. Become aware of and notice how when you are hustling so hard, trying to get so much done, you actually end up feeling worse in the long run. For example, if you're in college and you're working on a lot of schoolwork, and this was me in college actually, I would work on classwork every single day, every single evening, even on the weekends. I would put that above everything else. I would rank that as a higher priority than going out with friends, than chilling in the lobby, than, going out to a movie on a weekday. I would put my classwork above everything else. But then at the end of the day, I would still feel so down on myself because I just spent all day by myself doing classwork for next week or for 3 days in advance, while my friends had a really good time. And yeah, that got me a 4.0, but what else did it get me? It didn't have any powerful experience to it. Whereas as I began to learn this, and as I began to take time out to go out with friends or to do something for pleasure, for leisure, in between my normal classwork schedule that I had created for myself, that fueled me up enough to be able to do the same amount of work in less time. And this is a hard thing to rationalize in our brain. We think that, no, it takes me this much time to get this thing done. I have to get ahead, whether it be at work, I need to get these things done before next week. But if we are nurturing ourselves, filling our cup, I know we hear that all the time, but if we're doing these things to take care of ourselves and live in balance, we will eventually find that flow, that rhythm where we can get the same amount of things done in less time. Or maybe we're filling that time where we're doing a lot of things with pointless add-ons, things that we may not even be aware of, but we're creating more work for ourselves because we have this idea in our head that tells us I need to be this busy in order to be this successful. Let me say that again. Sometimes we have a limiting belief in our minds that's telling us, I need to work this hard to make this much money. I need to study this hard to get this grade. I need to spend this much time doing this task in order for it to be done right. But is that true? That's what I want to ask you. Is that true? Or is it just what you have been conditioned or you have lived in alignment with, and you have hence created that reality for yourself? Another question that I would like to ask you is, what is your definition of worthwhile? Or what is your definition of productive? Because again, our mind is going to have one definition for what that is. Like I just mentioned, maybe being productive in my mind means that I spend 40 hours a week at my job. That means that I'm a productive worker. Or maybe worthwhile to me means that I spend, 8 hours working on this passion project to make it worthwhile. But that's the definition that my head has, using numbers and criteria to define it. Whereas my soul, my higher self, doesn't have that same criteria. When I'm forming the definition from a place of my mind, I'm locking myself into this container, this box, where I believe that I am stuck. But it is only when I can bring myself down into my heart, when I can quiet my mind, when I can tune into my higher self, my soul, and truly ask myself, what is productive to me? What does being happy mean to me? What does living a joyful life mean to me? And I'm assuming that you'll start to get more ideas, more perspectives on what that looks like from a place of your soul, from your higher self, instead of from your mind. And then you can put the two side by side and find a happy medium, a happy balance. So I'm going to give you again another personal example from my life. I have spent, the past few months living a very unconventional lifestyle where I've been traveling a lot and I haven't been working for a while. And I had this idea after I did so much travel of like what I needed to do next in order to be productive, in order to be back on track. And then I realized, oh my gosh, Nicole, you are creating these definitions from a place of your mind. Whereas my heart, my body was actually guiding me into experiences and places that I didn't intend on being for as long as I was. So I was brought back to some family, and I have a family member that's going through some health issues at the moment, and my mind was saying it's time to start this job, it's time to start doing this work, it's time to get productive again. And my body or my heart was like, I need to be here right now. And that's my priority. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't necessarily meet my mind's requirements for me at the moment. And that feels uncomfortable. I feel like I'm doing something wrong or I'm doing something bad by, pushing that aside. But by going and being with that family member that needed me, I actually was also with a lot of other family members in that time period. And then, friends that I haven't seen for a while, people that I had no idea that I would be meeting up with or seeing. And you wouldn't believe how many times they said to me, Nicole, I really needed to hear that. Thank you. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're here. I needed to have this conversation. Or, I couldn't imagine this without you. Or, thank you so much for cooking me that meal. Thank you so much for doing these things for me that I can't do for myself. So it's to say that sometimes these acts of service are so small in accordance with our mind's idea of productive that they get passed by. But our souls would say that any act of service is worthwhile, whether it be service to the collective through saying a prayer for humanity, or service to your higher self by taking a moment for meditation and presence, or service to Mother Earth by picking up some trash at the park, or service to another human being by simply carrying their groceries. The overall message that I want to get across to you today is that be present in where you are now. Be aware of the phase of your cycle that you are in and love it for what it is. Love it for the gifts that it is giving you, whether you are in a slow moment or a very high intensity, high energy moment. Look at it as a phase, as a moment in your existence, and realize and recognize that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Instead of being hard on yourself when you feel overwhelmed by whatever emotions or feelings are coming up based on this experience that you're having, sit with them, feel them, and just be aware of them. Sometimes when we are simply aware of the feelings that we're having, or the limiting beliefs that are coming up, or the stories that we are telling ourselves, we can remove that added power that we have given them by simply acknowledging that this is a story, this is an emotion that I'm having, this is a sensation that I'm feeling, and it's okay. Wherever you are at right now is okay, and it's actually happening for your highest good. Allow yourself to enjoy this moment, this phase, because before you know it, you're going to be propelled into or flow into the next. And by simply showing up, honoring where you're at, what you're moving through, and choosing to live from this place of centered awareness, you start to love every experience, every opportunity, every present moment, because it's your present moment. So wherever you are at, whatever you're moving through right now, I hope that you found some sort of benefit from my share today. I appreciate you guys who have been stopping by to listen in on this authentically empowered space. Feel free to give this video a thumbs up or share it with someone else that you think may benefit from it. I love you all so much, and I look forward to seeing you back here very soon. Bye for now.